we're in the home stretch. Look at number 19. Number 19 says perform the indicated operation. So once again, I can see they're not like denominators, not common denominators. So I'm going to factor my denominators. Well, my left denominator, r minus 6, that is factored. You can't do anything with that. My right is the difference of squares. Now, I want my denominators to be the same so I can subtract them. And I can see that r minus 6 is already represented. So I'm going to multiply r plus 6 over r plus 6 because that equals 1. And now I have r plus 6 in both denominators. So I have r plus 6 and r minus 6. And so I have 10 times r plus 6 minus 20r. Okay? So I keep my denominator the same. I'm going to leave like that to remind you, you're not going to distribute it out. But I distribute out my numerator to see if I can combine it. And I do 10r minus 20r would give me a negative 10r. And I go ahead and add in my denominator now. Now I always want to simplify last step, and I pull out my greatest common factor in the numerator. I'm going to put as a 10, so a negative 10. It's going to be r minus 6. So I can see r minus 6 cancels out, and I'm left with negative 10 over r plus 6. Warning, once again, in case you're just watching the end problems, when you're putting this in, make sure that you do not enter it like this. Because look and see the syntax over here. It gives you a preview. You can see that's not what you meant. You wanted to have a parentheses around the denominator, and that way it knows that your entire denominator and your entire numerator. It's just a good habit. In fact, if you're worried about it and you're not sure, just put it always above the numerator and the denominator, and that way you'll always make sure the calculator understands what you're doing. Number 20, do the happy dance. Woo-hoo-hoo. Oh, wait, there's 22. I didn't even see that. Oh, my goodness. Okay, we got a couple more to go. That's all right. So number 20, we did one like this in class. So hopefully you paid attention for that. So we're solving an equation, not simplifying. And I told you the best way to solve a rational equation is to get rid of the denominator. So I'm going to multiply through by b squared. Because by doing that, this is going to become b squared. And this is going to become 6b squared over b. This is going to become 55b squared over b squared, which is the reason I did it, because that will cancel out the denominator. But while doing that, it also cleaned up my second term. So it's going to be b squared minus 6b is equal to 55. We know we can't solve unless it's equal to 0, so let's go ahead and clean that up. Okay, so we want to have a factor pair that multiplies to be negative 55 and adds to be negative 6. You can use your calculator, or you can just write out the factor pairs. Negative 11 plus 5 would give me negative 6 and would multiply to be negative 55. I'm going to have b minus 11 and b plus 5. So each one of the factors you're going to set equal to 0. You're going to get b is equal to 11 and b is equal to negative 5. And you're going to enter those in with a comma between them. So I'm going to say negative 5, comma 11, and then you're going to enter. But before you hit enter, you need to check rational equations and make sure that you've actually created a valid solution, not an extraneous solution. So let's go ahead and check that to make sure with a little more room. So if you do hit submit and you know you get it right, but it says wrong, it's probably because it was an extraneous solution. So look at it again. But the easiest way to do this is just put those answers in. So first I'm going to do b as equal to 11. So it'll be 1 minus 6 over 11 is equal to 55 over 11 squared. Okay, so you can use your calculator. Let's go ahead and just show you how that works. If you wanted to, you could say that's going to be second quit if you get this screen. So 1 minus, and I like to use parentheses, 6 divided by 11. And I just write down, oh, that's 0.45 repeating on this side. Now I do the right side. So 55, oops, not a 5. Divided by 11 squared. Oh, 0.45 repeating. So 11 is a valid solution. Now let me try -5. So 1 minus 6 over -5. So this is going to become 1 plus 6 over 5. Okay, and then -5 times -5 is going to be 25. So let's do the left side of this one. It's going to be 1 plus 6/5. And I get 2.2. And then the right side, 55 divided by 25 is 2.2. So that is also a solution. So both of mine are valid. What's going to cause you to happen? Sometimes you'll have division by 0 for the rational equations, and that's when it's going to be not a solution. So if one of yours is not a solution, then you just mark it out. Okay? So you could have hit submit on that. That one would have been all right. Number 21. Okay. This is proportion. These are some of the easy ones, so you get to relax. We're going to get these right. Cross proportions, people like the idea of cross multiplying. They try to do it a lot of times when you're not allowed to, but these are when you have a fraction equal to a fraction, a rational expression equal to a rational expression. All you need to do is you're going to multiply the bottom left times the top right. So that's going to become a minus 2 times 11. And then you're going to do the same thing, the top left and the bottom right. Okay, so that's going to be 10a. Okay, so it's going like this and like this. All right, so that's going to be 11a minus 22 is equal to 10a. And we're going to solve that. So I'm going to subtract 11a from both sides. And that's going to be -1a. And then I'm going to divide by -1. And I'm going to get 22 is equal to a. And I could check this to make sure that my solution is correct again. If you wanted to check it, you could say 22 over 22 minus 2 is equal to 11 over 10. And if you put that in the calculator, you're going to see that's the same thing. Okay? And then our last question. Woo-hoo-hoo! Oh, it's a work problem. We're good at these two. Okay, here we go. A work problem question. Says it takes Santos 8 hours to rake the front lawn, while his brother Colin can rake the lawn in 6 hours. How long will it take them to rake the lawn together? Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to set ourselves up a little table. We have Santos. We have his brother Colin. And then we have together. In our first column, we want to write the time it takes them to do the job. All right, so it takes Santos 8 hours, it takes Colin 6 hours, and together, we don't know how long. That's the variable. The question usually tells us the variable. Okay, now, the second column, this is the tricky part, be careful. It's all you're asking for here is how much of the job could you do in 1 hour? So if you can do the job in 8 hours, in 1 hour, you would get 1/8 of the job done. And in 6 hours, you'd get 1/6 of the job done. And then together, you get 1/t of the job done. All right, now, you're going to look at this column right here. Okay, that's what we're going to use to set up our equation. So I'm going to say 1/8 plus 1/6. That would be if Santos and Colin were working together. Will be equal to 1/10. And now we're just going to clear this up. And I told you the easiest way is to get rid of the denominator. So I'm going to multiply by the biggest number, which is 8. Okay, so that's going to become 8 over 8 plus 8 over 6, 8 over t. That becomes 1. And now I'm going to multiply everything by the next denominator, 6. And this is going to become 8 because 6 times 8 divided by 8 is 8. Okay, and then I'm going to do last, multiply everything by t. Now, yes, you could do the least common denominator. That's more efficient, but it didn't really hurt us, did it? And that's going to be 6t plus 8t is equal to 48. So 14t is equal to 48. I'm going to divide both sides by 14, and I'm going to get 48 14, so it'll be 24 sevenths. Now, do not put this in your calculator. If you put it in your calculator, you're going to get, as a decimal, 24 divided by 7. And it gives you this really long, irrational number. It's going to mark it wrong if you put this in there. They want you to leave it as a fraction because this is an exact number. And it does not say round. It says just put in the hours. So make sure on this problem, warning, leave it as a simplified fraction. Okay? Good luck. You can do this.